Hello to everyone.
Ciao Maria.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Nicola.
Well, we should wait like 5 minutes before to start our meeting because we have to admit other people. So before to start presentations. Who could say hello or something in the next 5 minutes?
Hello from Rome. My name is Damiano.
Thank you.
Oppure se la banca ha convocato il prodotto finanziario a un soggetto.
Please, could you mute your phone?
Incompatibile con
Okay.
appunto
Just a minute before to start. So just basic rules, and as I've written, who want to ask questions must write them in the chat, and I choose 2 per expert. Please specify the name of the person to whom the question is dedicated, and the other question will be answered lately. And now we can start with the contributions and the presentations of the experts. And firstly, it is a pleasure to have here some of I guess, most important expert in the field of librarianship and the library sector. And I guess that this will be a good start for our weekly webinar. And for this reason, I'll start to give a brief presentation of the module, of the first module, that is Introduction to Digitization. And after, I'll present the first speaker, that is Maria Tammaro. So the first module, as you know, will give a basic introduction to the digitization and about the processes and the methodologies that are connected with the digitizations. And what about Maria? And I have to read because her bio is so full, so I just have some notes for her. And she's a full professor in the sector 11A4, and she has been a lecturer in some of the most important Italian uni, like Parma, Modena, Reggio, and she has designed a MOOC that was titled Digital Library in Theory and Practice during the 2016. And she was a member of a famous organization like IFLA governing board. And so I will just present in this way Maria before that she starts her presentation. So now she can share her screen, and after who want could make some comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I am very honored to be here, and thank you to the organizer and to the participants. I am going to focus on digital scholarship academic community. This is the community I have been started my career, and I know better. And also I can say that this is the community early adopter of digital technologies. And so I tried just to synthesize a short timeline of digitization and digitalization process of this academic community. I start with Vannevar Bush, 1945. He was writing his famous article, As We May Think, introducing the concept of hypertext, and also evidencing one of the main issues of the academic community, which is retrieval, quick retrieval of information. And so MEMEX is a repository where the scholars can storage all the relevant material for them. After Bush, I would like to nominate Licklider. 20 years about after Bush, he was the first director of ARPA, and so he was very aware of the potentialities of the internet and networking. And his vision was very global. He wrote an interesting book, Man-Computer Symbiosis, and his idea was that of a system he called it the pro-cognitive. Licklider was also a psychologist, not only a computer scientist. Pro-cognitive means that he evidenced that it's not only a problem of quick retrieval, it's the problem that scholars have to do a lot of repetitive activities. They lost their precious time. He calculated about 80% of their time was lost in iterative and stupid activities. Instead, he said all the time should be dedicated with the help of computer to analysis, a high-level activity. This is, I think, the first definition of digitalization in the academy, because the leader wasn't really working on process and workflow. 40 years later, the Evidence Marcionini activity, he was writing about Sharium, was a research project where the most important activity for scholars is to collaborate. Collaborate and cooperate is important, especially for finding solution to problems. During COVID, we have had some examples of this. These three authors evidence a big growth and a big change in academic community, and libraries and also archives, possibly museum, should be aware of this change of community behavior, augmenting library services. Now we have research data management, which is the focus of the European Open Science Cloud. In particular, Open Science represents the future digital transformation of the scholarly activities. I say future because it's in process. We don't know when it will be completely realized, but there are already some part of these functionalities. Open Science integrate publication cycle and research cycle. Publication cycle is completely changed in this framework, in this environment. We speak publication not only for research articles and books, but for many different publications, also called liquid publication or nano publication, because we have to include blogs, open bibliographies, annotation, open data, and we have also different peer review system, not only pre, but also post publication. And there are automatic reputation system also. And so the publication cycle has been very revolutionated, I think. And what is important is the emphasis on collaboration. Collaboration between experts from different backgrounds, but collaboration also with citizens. This is the first time that citizens are considered partners in the research. Can be for sensor, can be for human computation, but they are included in the research cycle. And Open Science is open in a very different word meaning, open access, we spoke open data, but also there are some principles, some norms to be followed. They are 4 element principles, of which reuse is the most important. Reuse of digital asset in this case are data and metadata. And findability, accessibility of data and metadata are really for making accessible everything is important for the research. Interoperability is the accessibility by machine, because we don't have only humans using the system of Open Science. This is the framework. There is an infrastructure and there is funding a policy supporting the Open Science movement. Where are we now? I thought to describe the Project Romor as a case study. Project Romor was for starting the Open Science, or in particular research data management in Palestinian university. I think it's interesting for you, this project, because really the Palestine university were at the bottom of the development. And we have achieved a big impact on this university. The project wanted to solve a problem of Palestine University. The problem is evidenced in this UNESCO report, because in comparison with other Arabic countries, Palestine University are behind for publication intensity, for corpus output, for publication trends. This is really due to the particular political situation of Palestine University. They are very isolated also between themselves. There was no collaboration between university in Palestine. But they also have difficulty to be published in international journals. And so their publications are mainly published inside the university of the country. Then we started to develop a gap analysis. There was a survey sent to all the university, and the result of the survey were compared with the same survey done in European partner of the project. And so data management planning, which is the first support mainly given by libraries, was very poor in Palestine. Only 5% researchers said they have the support services. Also for managing active data, only 3% of researchers have this kind of support. The majority has to do by themselves. And also is difficult to find a server or the institution where to storage the data. Regarding training, there was no courses when we started the project, and so most of the researchers, most of the university wanted to have curricula with research data management as a discipline, and wanted also a training of scholars for research data management. And so the situation for repositories was practically not existing, except a few exceptions, and the metadata were submitted by scholars. Also, policy were adopted policies, which means there was not a strategy clear of the university. And so this is the situation of the Palestine, but I can say it's a very common situation, not only of the Palestine University, also many universities in Italy have similar issue, similar problem. The project started with the business model canvas. And so starting from customers, what are the research, not only research, but also other stakeholders they wanted to achieve, and the Palestinian University were very ambitious.
Anna, could you conclude, because we are on time? We are rushed.
Yes, sorry. And so I can arrive to the where we are now. We have achieved capability, because most of the effort were on education and training. We have achieved the start of the digital assets with 4 open access repositories. And in particular, I think one of the most important results, there is now an organizational structure with policies, a business model, and a program of advocacy and awareness. And so, sorry to have taken more time than planned. You can contact me. I wait for your question, and you can find in Zenodo all the documents delivered by Project Roma. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anna Maria. And now it's the time to the second module, strategic thinking. And we have a contribution titled How Important It Is to Choose Strategic Goals in the Library. As you know, the module is a module that would implement knowledge on the setting of strategic goals, to create business plan, and to manage risk and opportunities. And the expert in this case is the Dr. Dobrinka Stoykova, that she is actually a lecturer in children programs for librarians, and she works in public libraries, and she's involved in public library service. She has published the books, so she's a writer, and she organizes workshops on public relations and marketing in libraries and culture institutions. So please, Dobrinka, could you present your contribution?
Thanks. What are strategic goals? Strategic goals are visions for the use of your library services or products in the library that have quantifiable or qualitative results. This means that achieving the goal must be something you can measure and track using data like increased numbers of readers or visitors, improved programs, growth and diversity of the library collection by 10%, for example. Why strategic goals are so important? They are part of strategic and business plans. Setting strategic goals can have a significant impact on the success and productivity of your team. They influence how and where a team's energy and resources are used and provide the team with concrete objectives that keep you focused and motivated. Strategic goals help librarians to work effectively and efficiently. As a rule, you choose a strategic goal after you have spoken with readers, with librarians, and with outsiders. That means people that don't visit the library. There are good practices for choosing what is important for the library services in future. Many libraries, when time and resources are limited, make a strategic plan. Such plans aim to determine the actions in the library services and so to achieve greater efficiency. After you make a strategic plan, you can make a business plan. A business plan is an action plan for 3 or 4 years. That is a tool you use to run and grow your business. Once prepared, annual plans are made which can focus on the priority goals. The methodology for determining the emphasis in library services has been developed and successfully applied in small libraries in Massachusetts in USA. According to this methodology, the main directions of the future library work are chosen from a special commission in which participate members that represent different citizen groups. For example, children, teens, school children, working people, people 60 plus. To each participant in the commission is given a sheet on which 9 library activities are formulated and what is planned to be done for each of them. Each participant must independently determine the degree of significance of each proposed activity. For this purpose, Each member of the commission has to divide a total 100 points among the proposed 9 activities, and according to the interests of his group. One of the participants can give, for example, 0 points for all activities that do not affect the interests of the group he represents, and give all the points to one or several activities. After all participants have filled in the list of points, the summation of the points for each individual activity is started. The 2 or 3 activities that receive the most points are identified as highlights in future library services. From these activities are chosen the strategic goals. After you choose the goals, you have to make them SMART. SMART, that means, is an acronym that means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. There are many different ways to set and measure goals. For example, how many new readers you would like to have? What percent of increase are you aiming? Or increase traffic of website by 10% and so on. And yet I'm giving some examples of strategic goals. For example, Cologne Public Library in Germany choose as a strategic goal the library to become a center for modern information for all citizens. And so they purchased computer software databases with information of interest to the citizens, electronic books and so on. And as a result, the citizens have to choose between traditional and electronic devices. In the children and youth department, there is a media library and a video library, as well as places to listen to music. Anyone who wants can rent a computer configuration and work in peace at home. The library has a special office for blind people which use information with the help of special software. Another focus is on databases with economic information for businessmen. Special databases that they can choose and prove information that is interesting for them. The Cologne Public Library is also an example for another strategic goal, the growth goal. In addition to its central building, the Cologne Public Library has also 17 branches. 3 BIBLIO buses go around 87 villages around Cologne, so increasing the number of readers. Another strategic goal is to increase access to library collections, services, and programs. The access is achieved in different ways in different public libraries in the world. For example, in Colorado, USA, where the customers have the library card for all libraries in the state, they can choose to borrow documents from the library which is near their home and return them in another library which is near their workplace. Sometimes they can return their borrowed documents in the night, throwing them in the return box which stands before every library. there is a courier branch delivery for that books. In Colorado, citizens have access to reference services thanks joint platform Ask Colorado, so the smaller libraries can ask more educated librarians to help them to answer citizens' question. Ireland public libraries, for example, provide access to a large collection of free online resources. Another good practice of Ireland libraries is called My Open Library Service, which offers extending opening hours to library members on a self-service basis. Outside normal opening hours, 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 365 days a year. Since the first full year of the service in 2015, visits increased by 183%. Another good practice for access to library collections is from Gütersloh, Germany. The public library is in connection with children's gardens and with schools. They work together. The public library gives every 6 months to them books and other documents. The children and school children visit the public library to attend on programs. Another strategic goal is, for example, to expand access to digital resources, including e-books and online resources. And there are also good practices in Ireland. For example, they plan to make digital learning centers in public libraries. Equipped with the latest technologies, they can provide a space for users for experiment and innovate with 3D design, printing, web and graphic design, computer coding, circuit making, and game design. Digital learning centers also offer a space for less confident users in the community to try out technology, explore its functions, and become comfortable in its use. In conclusion, I can say that strategic goals come first, then comes strategic plans and business plans. And in business plans, you can have a financial part where you can make the finance how much money you need for that strategic goals you have chosen before that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dobrinka, for the presentation. And now it's the time for the last presentation of this week on the module Valuing Ideas, with a presentation titled The Idea from its birth to its realization. And the speaker is Elena Yurchenko. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation, but you know, with name is not easy. And the module, as all of you know, try to value and to manage in the best way ideas and opportunities. And something about Elena, she works in the field of information and library. She has an expertise of 40 years in this field, obviously, and she bounced in the States, France, and so in many countries to participate in some academic projects. And what else? She so has international experience and in different and in many academic libraries, such as in Finland, Spain, Portugal, and France. So now the word to Elena. Please share your screen.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, when I was informed that in this session of the project I'll be speaker on the topic of evaluating ideas, I started to prepare a PDF presentation. A lot of slides piled up and everything seemed too theoretical to me. That's why I have decided to speak. I know you are a professional audience with a lot of experience, but in the beginning, I must ask you, do you often come up with a new idea? Maybe yes. It often happens to me that someone tells me I have a new idea, but often the person is embarrassed to share the idea so as not to be stolen. I'll tell you a secret. I don't think this behavior is helpful. I have always done the exact opposite. I have always told my ideas to as many people as possible to get constructive feedback. It's just that when I was a student, smart people with experience advised me. And then life is the best teacher. With very new ideas, especially a professional one, I often don't ask if my idea is great. I ask why this idea may not work. There is always at least one person to tell me something I haven't thought of before. Sometimes I have judged that this can really affect the realization of my idea or even change the expected end result. Today, we'll talk about ideas, not like philosophical ideas, modern ideas, revolutionary ideas, or mind-thought suggestion in a work of art. We'll talk about the ideas like concept or intention. We'll talk about evaluating of ideas like acts of considering something to decide how good, useful, successful, or valuable it is, as opposite to valuation, like professional judgment about how much money something is worth by comparing it with similar things. Ideas are doorways because they can open up new understandings. The power and value of ideas lies in your ability to capture, grow, and bring them to life. A great idea without execution has no value, but a decent one with good execution is most likely going to generate some profit. To be successful in this new age, a library needs to adapt quickly and take advantage of all opportunities. Ideas can arise about any human activity, including the diverse activities of library and information provision. The real value of ideas is determined by taking into account various basic criteria. The formula must be flexible to embrace ideas for a variety of applications, brand ideas, communication ideas, innovation ideas, corporate ideas, and so on. Criteria will vary according to application, but they will probably be based on key value determinants such as impact, excitement, originality, durability, and authenticity. Key principles are brief the idea precisely, or devise a post hoc brief for a spontaneous idea. To test and further develop your idea, you can discuss what if, calculate in advance what idea the idea we want needs to be worth, value the idea throughout its development, which is a four-step process. But never forget.
Elena,
Sorry.
do you have just one slide, or you have to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's only the beginner.
Okay.
But never forget that outside exposure is critical. They say that ideas are similar to jokes and gifts. Whatever we think about our idea or joke or gift, it is of extremely little value if it fails to excite and delight. However, it has been designed to receive it. What are these 4 steps for developing your idea? Step 1, share your idea with others and ask for their harshest criticism too. Step 2, spend some serious time on research. Step 3, write a deleted plan. Step 4, find financial support for the realization of your idea. Dear colleagues, I will now give you an example that relates to the path of a series of interconnected ideas in my professional life. I became director of Doragaba Regional Library in Dobrich in 1992. This is the time of the beginning of the democratic development of Bulgaria. The country was in a big economic crisis. On the day I was appointed director, I was informed by phone that the library building had been restituted 10 days ago and we had 3 months to live. After the phone call, I lowered my head and realized how my blood pressure was rising. I knew that my team and I faced a great challenge. I quickly realized that it was important to think and act. For 2 decades, a new library and museum building was being built in the city center. It was not ready and there was no prospect of it being completed. I quickly realized that stress should give rise to ideas, and the ideas had to be evaluated. First, I formulate the problem. A new home for the library must be found, and the library must be open to its users in a new building as quickly as possible. It was the first and the biggest problem that needed to be solved in my professional career. Second, I divided the main problem into compound problems to find for the richest library of Dobrich and Dobrich region a building that meets the professional requirements for load bearing capacity, electrification, lighting, heating, and fire safety, which should also be in the city center in order to answer as fast as possible access to it for citizens, including for disabled people. To provide financial funds for the relocation, repair, adaptation, and furnishing of the building. To provide people, equipment and vehicles for the relocation. The new building to be renovated to provide the necessary new furniture and to furnish them. The library to be moved in time, the library to be accommodated as soon as possible for the users. It was clear and in advance that the solution of the problem was not in my power, but it was clear that ideas would be expected of me and my team. After accumulating different ideas, we would probably be expected to evaluate ideas and choose the best ones. There were many questions. With whose administrative intervention, where, how, with what financial and human resources, and for how long. After work, I left for home. I passed different buildings. The first idea came up. I realized that only a part of the building of the former Bulgarian Communist Party in the city center could become the new home for the library. I wondered if we would succeed if we tried. You may find it strange, but the first person I shared my idea with was my husband. He always had a clear position on a number of issues. I didn't ask if my idea was good. I asked him why it might not be good. He has honest. He told me it will be very difficult to get this building. It is perhaps state property. The municipal council of Dobrich municipality cannot dispose of it. But you must try, and you have to be ready for a big battle. Going to work the next morning, I was walking through the park with my neighbor. She was a regular user of the library. I shared the problem and my idea with her. She congratulated me on this idea and pointed out various possible benefits of achieving it. I remembered that I knew who are the architect and chief engineer of the building. To see if my idea really made sense, the first thing I did was invite them to a meeting. I asked them to bring some basic architectural documents. The most important thing they explained to me was that the 2 floors and the additional annex, the building in which I would like to move the library, had more than the load-bearing capacity. During the day, I talked to several colleagues. Opinions varied from super positive to super skeptical. In the afternoon, a general meeting of the library specialist and the service staff was held. I applied the brainstorming method to provide their ideas. Different opinions were shared. Most of the colleagues stated that they are ready to cooperate as much as possible in order to develop the idea, to develop a concept, and writing a plan. I met with a lawyer. He had worked with me for several years in the district libraries directorate and knew the library. He promised to study and evaluate the legal issues related to the building. The next day, I met with the chief accountant of the cultural department of the municipality. He totally discouraged me. He explained to me that this was impossible to restructure the budget to finance the relocation activities. He even suggested another idea, to offer the owners of the library building to rent and not to move the library. I also meet with the Deputy Mayor of Culture and Education. He expressed full support of the idea. I also met with the Deputy District Governor of Varna District. I learned from him that the building has 2 deeds of ownership, one as state property and one as municipal property. This
Please,
was
Elena,
illegal.
could you conclude?
Yes.
Thank you.
Everyone expected that under such condition, I will give up. For 2 days, I waited the advantages and disadvantages of my idea. But in the end, after many conversations in which the idea was subjected to various evaluations, the first stage of the implementation was completed. And after that, it was the idea how to have money for this idea, the realization of the idea, and how to make the relocation. But the process of discovering ideas involves the steps: preparation time, apply creative methods to provoke the human brain to think differently, time to mature the collected ideas, selection and development of selected ideas. Therefore, the practice shows that the evaluating of ideas refers to different intermediate stages of selection. Each stage of the idea development ends with an evaluation that includes social, technical, and financial criteria. Instead of a conclusion, the power and value of ideas lies in your ability to capture, develop, and implement them. Trust your colleagues, share ideas with them, encourage them, their ideas, and their participation in the evaluation of ideas, development of ideas, and the development of ideas in the library. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, Elena. So we have like no more or less than 5 minutes to have final suggestions and comments, because I don't see questions in the in the chat. So if someone would say something, it could do right now, or anyway, if the expert will say something to conclude, it's the time to do. Before that, we say goodbye. And before that, I mute myself. I want to say once again, thank you for the participation and to be here in the first webinar of the BIBLIO project. So I give you the speak part to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Me too.
Don't be shy. Please ask something if you want, once again. And if no one will say something, we have to conclude the webinar like right now. But it is important from my side to ask two experts something, because they are here just to implement and to improve your knowledge in this field. So it's a good idea to make some questions. Well, I guess that we can conclude the first meeting 2 minutes before, and it's a pity, but we have. So once again, thank you for the participation. I will say goodbye to the presenters and for the contribution. So see you next week and have a nice day.
Have a nice day. I wish you health and success.
Yes, I do.
So bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.